Chapter 6. Toru. Hoshino's residence, Tokunosu City, East District, 7 a.m. The night sky gradually faded into a light blue hue as the sun rose from the east, signaling the arrival of a new day in this undead-infested land. The creaky sound of a door fills the quiet hallway. Kazuhiro carefully pushed open the front door of one of the houses in the city's residential district. He had to duck under the door frame because of his tall stature. Once inside, he took a moment to survey the surroundings. This will do for now. This house happens to be the largest in the area. His vision takes in the modern decor that adorned the walls and furnishings. It was evident that the former occupants of this dwelling had enjoyed a level of affluence. Looking around the place, it is a mess. Scattered debris and shattered glass littered the floor. As he explored the ground floor, he found himself in various rooms. The living room, the dining area, and the kitchen, which stood as the largest of the other spaces, though now they lay in disrepair, their former grandeur tainted by the chaos of this world. Stepping further into the house, Kazuhiro encountered a lone zombie. It stood there, oblivious to its surroundings. He faced the creature and understood the power the device has given to him. Equipping that title has its advantages, he thought. The title granted him an aura that concealed him from the mindless corpses, rendering him virtually invisible to their senses. No sound, movement, or sight of him could attract their attention as long as he wore the title. With this newfound advantage, he decided to dispatch the standing zombie swiftly. His sharp, precise finger pierced through its forehead, ending it in an instant. XXXX. +0 INT received. Swiping frenzy. XXXX. That skill, it still works. He retrieved the handheld device from his pocket and activated the latest extract function. A faint blue mist emanated from the corpse as he centered the device's camera lens on the body. As the process concluded, a list of options appeared on the device's screen, including choices like blood, bones, and other materials that compose the being. Here is what I gathered when using the function. I used it a couple of times previously to test it, and from what I know, I'm able to dismantle the things that I choose to extract in this world. Once extracted, I'm met with a list of options that I can pick from and store those parts in the inventory. Parts ranging from atoms to the whole package, overly specific is what I can say. It has a search bar at the top to ease your findings. The odd thing about it was that once extracted, the former object or body is still present. It has not disappeared as I expected it to be. However, I cannot repeat the process on the same target. Fair, that would be an easy way to farm for credits. After weighing his choices, the entity decided to extract the whole package since it had the highest value, providing him with 5 credits. While not a substantial amount, it was the most valuable option among the selections. Standing up, he left the room and headed upstairs to the second floor, less of a clutter than the one downstairs. His purpose in coming here was to wash himself from the sticky bits that stuck to his clothes and body. He entered the first room on the right and discovered a spacious bathroom. Inside, he wasted no time and turned on the bathtub faucet, allowing water to flow into the tub. To prevent any remains from mixing with the water, he made sure to plug the drain. As he tested the water's temperature, he couldn't help but notice the absence of sensation, even in his sense of touch. Undeterred, the figure stood in a hunched posture and began to remove his clothes, preparing to clean himself. I wonder if I can find other clothes that would suit my form in the shop. Kazuhiro reveals his skinny physique, with ribs evident, bony arms and legs, as well as an extremely thin stomach. As he settled into the bathtub, the shower head above began to rain down water, washing away the dried blood and remnants that clung to his body. In a seated position, he stops after a few scrubs and summarizes the events that happened so far in his head. The trickling sound of the drops hitting and making contact with his dark skin helps him think of a clear picture of the events. Right now, I'm in Japan, my so-called home country. The current date is 2006 July 5th. This answered one of the questions I had in mind. I'm in a parallel universe. This is not the Japan I was born in. It's completely different. Remembering what I read about my identity, leading to the specific date. There is no such outbreak similar to the one here happening in my previous life at that time. Tokunosu, the city that I'm currently in. It is unheard of. It doesn't exist in my old world. One of the reasons that confirms my theory. It was becoming increasingly clear that this parallel universe had its own set of events and realities that diverged from his previous life. I remember seeing in the news on the still-functioning display televisions in one of the stores that I came across. The whole world is in a crisis, cursed with the plague. Beijing, London, Moscow, Rio, the States, and the rest of the world are dealing with the same problem. Some have it under control while others are less fortunate. What could have caused this? Could it be a disease? Whatever it is, I can do nothing about it. Turning the shower head off, he stands up and exits the tub. Fully clean, he heads towards the dirty clothes to wash them, only to find out that they have disappeared and were replaced by new clothes, though different from what he usually wears. This time, there is a blue polo shirt and gray pants with a card holder strapped to a black belt with the title being supervisor followed by his name. Wearing the new clothes, it fits him well. My clothes changed due to me getting promoted? That means I won't have to waste a dime on the market. Checking himself out, the colors matched well with his dark skin. What exactly are you? A high-pitched, monotone voice sounded behind Kazuhiro, attracting his attention. Silence took over for a few seconds as Kazuhiro considered this unexpected encounter. A child, the entity thought, looking down at the blonde curly-haired kid who seemed to be 9 or 10 years old. The boy wore round glasses, a white-collared shirt with a red tie, and black pants. I observed your behavior from a distance. The hidden cameras around have captured your movements. For you to use a strange device and to kill one of the monsters here proves that you are an intelligent being. Even though I'm taking a major risk here coming out. At least, I die with my curiosity satiated. The boy's voice emitted emptiness, as if he doesn't care what happens to him from now on. Now locking his eyes on the creature's head as he questions the creature one more time. Now what are you? The room fell silent after he empathized his question. The boy's unyielding gaze still fixed on Kazuhiro's featureless face. The child's tired eyes, encircled by noticeable dark bags, showed signs of fatigue. I go by the given name Kazuhiro. I'm a shop attendant that chose to roam these lands, he added, as to show that he too is a human, albeit different. I guess aliens do exist after all. The boy didn't seem entirely surprised by the revelation. He stifled a yawn with a small hand. Whatever, you are welcome to stay. I'm tired enough to be cautious. With those words, he left the bathroom and disappeared into one of the rooms on the second floor, slamming the door behind him. Kazu stood there, thinking about what had just occurred. Those who are older than him get frightened upon seeing me. For him to be unfazed is truly unheard of by children his age. Questioning the recent event, he chose to leave the bathroom, ducking under the frame, only then to find 3 other doors that lead to separate rooms. Curiosity getting the best of him, he chose to know more about this world and its inhabitants. He entered the room that appeared to belong to the kid. It was filled with the belongings of a child. Clutter covered the computer desk, suggesting that the boy spent a lot of time here. As Kazuhiro inspected the room, he didn't see anyone in here. It seemed that the boy had retreated to one of the other 2 rooms on the second floor. Examining the contents on the desk, Kazuhiro found a collection of items that provided some insight into the boy's life. The 4th grade level books, school tools, and the 2006 Elementary Science Fair silver medal all hinted at a young student's room. He continues to scan the room once again. Inspecting the pictures and a few certificates around the boy's room, the name Adam Williams is what was written on them. Picking up a picture frame, it showcased Adam along with his classmates with a couple of teachers on both sides for a class photo shoot. Judging by the picture, the kid doesn't seem to be in a joyous mood. Having thoroughly explored the room, the entity went to the one beside the room and later found himself in an office, a dignified space with tall bookcases lining each side of the room. The desk, the centerpiece of the office, bore a sleek laptop perched upon it, while a plush black leather chair stood imposingly behind. Circling the desk, he faced the laptop screen, checking its contents, which displayed a quartet of panels offering real-time views of the rooms on the first floor. The realization dawned on it. That's how he knew. Having his curiosity partially fulfilled, he went out, and there was only one room left to explore. Gently turning the doorknob, and as he goes in, his sight catches the kid lying on a master bed, asleep. The entity continued its silent exploration of the room. He made his way to the dresser, where a damaged picture frame caught his attention. The image within depicted what seemed to be a loving family. A father with blonde hair and blue eyes, and a mother with black hair in a kimono, and their child. Setting the frame back down, the entity moved to a mirrored desk. 2 items stood out among the makeup utensils, combs, and decor. It picked up one of them, an incense holder adorned with a charming bunny design. The other was a delicate rose made of pigmented paper, most likely an origami creation. Leave it, it's not yours. The familiar monotone catches him holding the item. The creature complies as he sets it down. Silence enveloped the room once more as the two figures faced each other. It wasn't until half a minute had passed and the kid spoke. Kazuhiro-san, I have a request to make. Kazuhiro stood, as he turned his figure to fully face the kid. Even though this is unlike me to ask for help, especially from someone of your stature, but based on the observations I've seen. The boy's eyes briefly lingered on Kazuhiro's claws. Is that your entire being is capable on surviving against them? My request is that I want to find someone, and with your help it would be easy to traverse our way there. The child's eyes fixed on the Kazuhiro's enigmatic visage. The device vibrated within his pockets as it dinged to notify its user. Pulling out his device, he looks over the contents. XXXX__mission S __ of mother and son, time-dependent, objectives, help in searching for Toru's mother, alive, difficulty, hard, rewards, black small square 10,000 SC, black small square 20 int, black small square 20 AP, black small square a new title, black small square a new ability, failure, black small square minus 1000 SC, black small square a new ability. Do you wish to accept the mission? Yes, no. XXXX. The kid observed the creature's movement and may have a gist of what's going on. Since we'll be together for some time, you can address me by Toru. He introduced himself, although a bit late. The entity examined the mission notification on its device, considering the task at hand. After a brief moment, it made a decision. The entity taps on yes. Chapter 7. Sunrise Park. I'm coming with you. The boy's voice attracts the attention of Kazuhiro. That is up to you, however _. Even though he does not mind having company on road, he still gets interrupted mid-sentence. Thanks, he says, not offering him a chance to finish his sentence. He then proceeds to stand up from his seated position on the mattress, heading towards the door. Kazuhiro has a clear image of the boy's characteristics. So far, it leaves a bad impression of him. Toru walks past the entity, as he suddenly falls head first onto the carpet floor. He stood and scanned Toru's body. He's still breathing. It's certain that he fell asleep. He later ponders if he should leave him there or set his body to the nearest bed. Deciding on the former, he went over and took a seat by the edge of the bed. The entity pulls out the device and looks at the mission tab once more. XXXX__mission S __ of mother and son, time-dependent, objectives, help in searching for Toru's mother, alive, difficulty, hard, rewards, black small square 10,000 SC, black small square 20 int, black small square 20 AP, black small square major increase in favor with Toru, black small square a new title, black small square a new ability, failure, black small square minus 1000 SC, black small square a new ability, XXXX. Time dependent. So far I have two theories on what it could mean. Could be that the mission has a time limit, on which it won't be available even if you don't accept it. The other might mean that it is a time-related mission. The timer starts once you accept it. I prefer it being the latter. It would make it a bit easier to finish the task. As every second counts, however, one thing stood out. Why would one get an ability if someone were to fail? Isn't that good? Or would it be a passive ability that would hinder its user, similar to a curse? Bang, bang, bang. Shots can be heard from the outside. Kazuhiro lowers his gaze towards the boy and checks up on him. Still asleep. Grabbing the TV remote from the bed bench, he decides to turn it on. The first thing it displayed was that of a cooking show. Uninterested, he skips a few channels, surfing until he lands on the news outlet. Over 200 casualties have been reported and confirmed in Tokunosu City. The majority of those deaths came from the shootings, a rise in gang activity in some parts of the city due to having no order within them. We also have been informed that inmates have broken out of their cells. The lack of guards in the vicinity caused this issue. For those at home, evacuate immediately and head over to the West District. The police force and medical shelters are stationed there. Turning off the TV, he drowns himself in his thoughts. It's been a day since the start of the outbreak, and the country is already in turmoil. Not good. The longer I stay here, my chances of failing this mission increase. Perhaps I could get a clue around on where I can find that person. Standing up, Kazu starts to search and scan the room for hints or information about the client's mother. First, heading to the wardrobe. It has its very own room, very wealthy it seems. Looking around, the room was far more spacious, with dressers and wardrobes at the side and tall mirrors at the end of the room. He scrutinized many of the wares, only then to find business suits, traditional kimonos, and casual wear. Nothing that would indicate about her job. That would remove jobs that would require a workplace outfit, those of the fast food industry, flight attendants, police force, or any other jobs that would require a uniform. Kazuhiro inspected every piece of clothing to find any hints that could lead him somewhere. Almost an hour has gone by, and the search was not entirely futile since I now know that she does not work in any of those jobs that I mentioned earlier. The search took too long due to the dressing room's vast space. Leaving the room, the entity spends the whole 30 minutes inspecting the master bedroom thoroughly, but still there is no information. He looks at the clock on top of the small table counter that was beside the bed. 3 hours have gone by ever since I arrived here. Not knowing what to do, he sits on the ground, leaning on the bed bench. His options now is to wait for Toru to wake up so he could any credible information regarding the assigned mission. Kazuhiro remembered something after a few minutes of delving into his thoughts. I remember picking up the picture frame of Toru alongside his classmates. It seemed to be for a class photo shoot. In the frame there stood 4 teachers, 2 on each side. One of them had the exact feature resemblance in the other frame. Maybe. Still in the master bedroom, he stands up, taking the family picture frame on the desk with him, leaves the room, and heads towards Toru's room. Once in the room, he picks up another picture frame, though this one was the class photo. Comparing the two, one of the teachers resembled the one in the family picture. Toru's mother. In the class picture frame, she wore an open white sweater with a shirt underneath and followed by a turquoise-colored skirt. As I thought. The frame still in hand, he looks around the boys' room, landing on one of the school certificates of this year. Shintoko Academy. That is the place. Though the issue is, where is it? I knew you'd still be here. How else would you know where she is? The figure's hearing senses catches the sound of the familiar tone. I told you that I would tag along. It's 10 in the morning. We can make it towards the west area of the city in approximately 2 hours on foot. If there aren't any hindrances along the way, of course. Toru says as he rubs his bruised forehead, followed by a yawn. Just wait downstairs. I'll be there in 3. I need to pack some stuff for the road. Moving sluggishly, he goes into his room, stuffing the things he needs in his backpack. The figure complies, and he goes and stands waiting downstairs, not willing to ask any queries about the current situation. True to his words, Toru came down at precisely 3 minutes, now wearing a light gray open jacket, and underneath it was his school uniform. Moreover, the kid carried a backpack as well. Ready, let's leave. We've got no time to waste. Walking past the creature and leaving through the house's main entrance, Kazuhiro followed behind him, ducking under the door frame. The rays of the afternoon sun shines above as they are both met with the destructive scene right in front of them, with cars crashed, dead bodies on the ground, their blood seeping onto the solid streets, and gunshots can heard from a distance. The two stand as they observe their surroundings. We're heading towards the park. It is the longest but the safest route that would lead us to the West District. Toru, unfazed by the chaotic scene in front of him, said as he later adds, also, let me get on your back. We would be there much quicker with you covering most of the distance with those long legs of yours. The kid stares at the entity as he then follows upon his request by picking him up and having him hold on to his thin skeletal back. The kid adjusted his hold on to the creature's back. He then guides Kazuhiro on where to go by pointing out the direction. That way, then turn right. Turning around and then walking towards what seemed to be an alleyway between Toru's home and their neighbors, they planned to avoid the dangerous streets. Avoiding the main roads and only taking thin and narrow pathways, be it alleyways, small shrubbery areas such as gardens, or narrow streets with multiple local shops surrounding them. During their walk, the awkward silence took place between them as they have only been heading straight for a few minutes. Breaking the silence, Kazuhiro decides to speak his mind out. Apologies, Toru, for asking questions unrelated to the task at hand. Your eyes, they don't seem too well. If the kid goes down, then the whole mission would end in failure. I will be fine. I took a stimulant that would keep me awake for a few hours. I have a container of the pills with me if we happen to get delayed and somehow still far from the destination. The kid described his reasoning. After only half a minute, a black steel gate appeared in the distance. The entrance to the park. Sunrise Park. It is the largest public park in the city. The kid says as they are now in front of the open entrance. It has about 8 gates, 2 on each side. We are currently in the east part of the park judging by the map beside the gate. We need to go to one of the western gates, which would lead us a few streets down towards the West Bridge. The kid says as they both go in and guide Kazuhiro to the gate. Even the park happens to be infested with those undead. Too many to count, as they both venture inside the bloody park. Dead bodies were scattered all over the unsettling public garden, and some corpses were seen munching on fresh meat, be it humans or even animals. It stinks. Covering his nose using his sleeved jacket due to the unpleasant aroma coming from the deceased corpses. Still walking, nothing unusual has surfaced until a faint sound of an engine coming from the short hill in the distance, turning both of their heads to the sound. A couple were seen running down the small hill, sprinting for their lives, and unfortunately, one of them fell due to the increased velocity of rushing down the slope. The sheer panic on their face, as they both knew that they were screwed. How could they outpace it? A large vehicle drove up a hill at high speed, landing on the 2 vulnerable couple, drifting afterwards as it drags their remains on the walkway, dirt path of the park. 2 points right fucking there. How's that, Shiro? I told you they were an easy kill. The driver laughed his ass off at the cruel display. Moron. I told you to leave the girl out of this. I haven't fucked for days. One of them was pissed at the outcome. Hey look, what's that? The other pointed at the tall figure in the distance with a small child on its back. Ha ha ha, that must be the leader of those cockroaches. Hey pedo, you think you can one-shot that fucker? The kid is yours for the taking. The driver said as the one sitting in the trunk holding a sniper rifle nodded nervously, removing his foggy squared glasses and placing them in the pocket of his orange jumpsuit. His hands shook as he takes aim. Bang! He missed, and due to the strong recoil, he fell out behind the Jeep, landing on the ground. Fucking cum stain. Switching the gear stick to reverse and pushing on the gas pedal. No! Wait dash! The man yelled though was abruptly cut off by tire running over him. His head pops due to the heavy weight of the steel car. We got the weird one out. Oi! Shinji, pick up that rifle. I'm gonna teach you how to aim in a moving car. The driver yells as there are only 4 of them left. This is going to be fun. Chapter 8. The Convicts. Kazuhana Apartments, 12 p.m. A few minutes before the incident, near Sunrise Park, a bat swung as it smashed onto a head with a resounding thud, launching it over an apartment rooftop. Home run. Woo. Come on, Asahi. Keep 'em coming. Chirped a young girl with black hair who wore a high school uniform with a black loose bomber jacket and a backward cap on her head. Can't do, Akemi. We're out of heads to throw. The voice came from another young teenager who also wore a high school uniform. A white polo shirt, followed by a black tie and pants. His hair was black and messy, and his eyes were similar to the girl's, a deep shade of maroon. So, just chop some more. Lil bro, adjusting the bloody bat on her shoulders, waiting on her little brother to get what was requested. Look, first of all, that shit takes ages to have a batch of them ready, and I'm not in the mood for the 3rd bath today. Second, you got out a minute after me. That doesn't mean shit. I need a break, he remarked as he headed towards the mini fridge, grabbed a cold drink, and stood near the rooftop fence, looking over the scenes taking place below. Whatever you say. She made her way over to where he was, her back leaning on the fence as she tried to unwrap a lollipop that she retrieved from her pocket. Asahi took a sip from his drink. His gaze was trained to something below them. He squinted his eyes before they widened in disbelief. No way. That can't be real. He couldn't believe what he was currently seeing. TSK. What? Irked due to him breaking the serene atmosphere. His sister turned to look at where he was pointing. Holy shit! She responded as she looked at what seemed to be a tall figure in the center of the park with a kid on its back. What even is that? Asahi mumbled something under his breath. You say something, Asahi? Akemi questioned as she turned her head to face her twin. It's like one of those mangas that I've read. He too turned to face her only to be met with a deadpanned expression. Huh? And what does that have to do with your lame hobby? His comment had started to irritate her. It made no sense at all. I'm just saying, with the world's current situation and the fact that there's a kid that tamed such an anomaly, can only mean that we're in a fictional plot. Asahi speculated. The more he did, the more his excitement rose. Something fun for once. Akemi wondered if her brother was dropped several times as an infant. That sounded ridiculous. If you are saying that we should assist the kid, we got a chance to do that. She pointed towards the car, crashing onto the couple that tried to run away. I don't believe in that anime bullshit you got going on. But that kid is kinda cute. She looked down at the events going on beneath them. Asahi just blankly stared at his sister. That was one hell of a reason to assist someone. You and your Shotokan fetish. Anyways, I'm going down. Disgusted, Asahi threw the empty can over the fence and placed a hand in his pocket, heading towards the roof's gate. Oi, it ain't a fetish. I just dote on cute boys. She huffed. It didn't reach Asahi's ears as the door swung shut behind him. Her face seems flustered. Embarrassed, perhaps? Asahi, wait up. Akemi chose to tag along. Back at the park, loud sirens whirred, as it was originating from the device, grabbing Kazuhiro's attention. He retrieved it to inspect the issue. XXXX. A new threat has been detected. The convicts. A boss battle has been initiated. Objectives. Find a way to escape with Toru. Rewards. Black small square 10. Dex. Black small square 10 in. Black small square 10 AGI. Black small square 10 AP. Black small square a new title. Failure. Black small square possibility of death. Black small square possibility of Toru's death. Black small square failing of mother and son mission. Black small square minus 5000 SC. Alternatives. Eliminate the threat with Toru being alive. 1/5. Rewards. Black small square 20 AP. Black small square 20 Dex. Black small square 20 STA. Black small square 20 AGI. Black small square 20 STR. Black small square 20 CUN. Black small square 15,000 SC. Black small square facility chest. Black small square a new application. Black small square a new ability. Failure. Black small square certain death. Black small square possibility of Toru's death. Black small square failing of mother and son mission. Warning. This mission has automatically been accepted. Choose between the two objectives to complete it. XXXX. What are you doing? Move. Toru shouted loudly, snapping Kazuhiro out of his thoughts. He tore his gaze away from the red screen. As he looked ahead, a car engine rumbled and roared violently. As a speeding steel Humvee came straight towards the two, Kazuhiro reacted quickly and evaded the fast vehicle by lunging to the side. XXXX. +1 DX. Dodged on time. XXXX. The two were now on the ground as the giant vehicle bypassed them. Kazuhiro decided to lift his head up and looked around to see where the car had gone. In the far distance, they could be seen ramming through multiple zombies, painting the vehicle a deep dark red. It stopped as his highly sensitive hearing picked up on their conversation. For fuck's sake, Hiroshi. Stop for a damn second. I need to reload. The one named Shinji complained. Oh, at your service, princess. Want me to polish it afterwards? The driver, Hiroshi, mocked him. Hearing their quarrel in the distance, Kazuhiro took the time he had to advise Toru to go into hiding. The issue was that he was nowhere to be found. Where did he go? The entity wondered as he stood up, scanning his surroundings. Not knowing where he could be, he glanced towards the inmates as they started to move, heading again towards him, crashing into any zombie that was in their path. Unsure of what to do, Kazuhiro chose a risky method to swiftly end it all and be on their way. Am I strong enough to slice through a steel car? He pondered. Only one way to find out. In that brief thought, Kazuhiro prepared his sharp claws as he sprinted towards the solid automobile. The sounds of the engine roaring as it advanced towards the figure. A few meters before they could collide, Kazuhiro sidestepped to avoid having him getting hit and swung his already stretched arm out to slice through the solid vehicle. A piercing shriek cut through the air, causing any person in hearing range to grind their teeth before the sound of a loud crack interrupted it. Ha 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 dash. Confused at the outcome, Kazuhiro could still hear their laughter as they drove away. An image popped up in the top corner of his vision. XXXX. HP. 721/1000 +200 +5 con equals taking heavy damage. You have taken damage. Leave the conflict zone and find a place to rest. Your health will regenerate once you take a seat. XXXX. Kazuhiro looked over at his left arm, as it was fractured, his shoulder having been dislocated due to the heavy impact. A gunshot rang as a bullet directly shot his lower rib. The sheer force of the shot made the entity fall to one knee. The odd thing was, there weren't any yelps or wails of pain coming from him. Silence was his response as he looked at the small green bar in the top corner of his vision deplete once again. XXXX. HP. 310/1200. Plus 400. Plus 10, con. Equals taking extreme damage. XXXX. He stood up and hurriedly went to take cover behind one of the trees in the park. Its width was able to mask the entity's abnormally skinny physique. The figure checked the recent gun wound. Hollow, there were no signs of anything leaking out of it. It was just a hole. Strange, however, judging by the bar. I will be dead if I were to be shot once more. Kazuhiro was able to hear their laughter and chatter in the distance. Nice one, Shinji. Ain't a bullseye, but it ain't a miss either. Bahaha. Hey, let's get this over with by ramming it. The driver was thrilled at the display. Way to ruin the fun. The one holding the rifle side now on track with the driver's idea. He complied by placing the gun down. Kazuhiro listened in on their conversation, trying to figure out a method to escape. A nearby growl alerted him as he lifted his head up only to find a zombie walking in the direction of the loud folks. Staring briefly at the moving corpse, a memory was triggered within him. That skill. He spoke his mind out. Not wasting any time, he extended his usable arm, as his sharp nails pierced its skull. XXXX. +1, DX swiping frenzy. Time remaining, 29:59. XXXX. Pulling out his claw made the body fall onto the ground. No time to waste. I need to obtain as many points as I can. Seeing the end results of the skill, the entity sprinted to where most of the zombies were gathered. He dashed and slashed any corpse in his way. His injuries were not hindering him in the slightest. XXXX. +3 STA. +2 con. +1 dex. +1 dex. +2 dex. +1 AGI. +1 AGI. +0 int. +4 STR. +0 int. +2 con. +5 con. +5 dex. XXXX. He kept slicing bodies with one arm as Kazuhiro felt the rising power course within him. He got faster, stronger, and more durable the more he killed. Though his movements did not go unnoticed, the felons having seen him come out of his hiding spot. It was a big opportunity for them to run him over and get a kill. Pushing on the gas pedal, wanting to catch up to the entity. The space between them lessened significantly, although that changed after a few more bodies were torn to bits and pieces. With Kazuhiro's increased speed, he was now slightly on par with the heavy vehicle at full speed, though it was still somewhat faster than Kazuhiro. He did not stop. The park was filled with an ample amount of those undead. The blood seeped into the organic soil. Shit. Hey Shinji. Shoot his damn legs. The driver was pissed at the noticeable rising gap between them. With each passing second, Kazuhiro seemed to outpace them, separating them a few feet apart. Aight. Nodding. Shinji picked up the rifle and opened the car's sunroof. He stood up and took aim. Kazuhiro overheard their conversation and noticed the man holding the rifle by glancing briefly behind him. Still not strong enough to slice through a car. It could leave a dent and not fully break his arm due to his now increased physical resistance. He decided to slow down as he had a plan in mind. It's slowing down. Ha! Even that has its limits. Hey, I got this. Grinning, Hiroshi pressed down on the gas pedal, increasing its speed and catching up to the entity. Shinji sighed once again, displeased as he went back down to his seat. Got you now. His grin broadened the more he got closer. He was now only a couple of meters behind him. Ha! It sidestepped. In that brief moment, he eyed the creature as it moved out of the car's way. Their heads were facing each other for only a few milliseconds. It later rained glass shards inside the car as Kazuhiro reached his hand in, breaking the windshield, and in a rapid movement, he pulled out the seated man holding the rifle. The tires screeched loudly. The driver failed to keep hold of the steering wheel, not paying attention to what was in front of him. It made him crash into a tree. The loud sound of the crash resounded around the park, attracting the attention of the dead. A drop of blood ran down the driver's face as he slowly tried to lift his head up. He breathed a sigh of relief, thankful that he wore a seatbelt, or else this wouldn't have ended well for him. Jiro? He looked over to his right towards the passenger seat. There, he saw his buddy, still breathing, though the lack of response indicated that he was unconscious. Seeing him in the same state as he was, with blood running from his head, he checked on his other two mates in the back seat. The only odd thing was, there was only one. Shiro, the driver called out. His eyes widened at the brutal sight his best mate was in. Shinji was missing, and Shiro was in a terrible condition. Shiro was still alive, though not for long. His breathing was shaky. Blood spilled out of his mouth each time he tried to exhale. Shards of glass were stuck to him, with a large chunk of it jutting out of the side of his neck. It hurts. Shiro spewed blood from his mouth as he tried to phrase out how painful the burning sensation was. His eyes were a mixture of tears and blood. Hiroshi sat there as he silently stared. He firmly bit down on his lip, getting him out of shock. Enraged, Hiroshi repeatedly punched the center of the steering wheel. "Bastard!" he shouted his lungs out, as he then switched the gear stick to reverse and heavily stomped on the gas pedal, running over every corpse in his way. Kazuhiro looked at the now dismembered body of the one named Shinji, his head unattached due to the forceful pull. XXXX. +8, con swiping frenzy. Time remaining, 29:59. +1 DX moved out of the way. Alternatives. Eliminate the threat with Toru being alive. 3/5. XXXX. I wanted to aim for the driver. Unfortunately, I was not quick enough to react, though I was able to pull out a major threat due to the increased flexibility and the speed of my limbs. The entity looked over at the sniper rifle that was on the ground. He picked it up. I could sell this, but to have it in my inventory, I should extract it first. I'll come back for it at a later time. Having an idea of what he should do with it, he dropped it in a nearby bush. He pulled out his device and headed to the attribute page. His hearing picked up on the loud car horn in the far distance. XXXX. __attribute__. Attribute points, AP 0. Strength, STR, 72, plus 132. Stamina, STA, 62, plus 111. Constitution's Con, 45, plus 134. Agility, AGI, 67, plus 92. Dexterity, DEX, 25, plus 69. Intelligence, INT, 51, plus 0. Special attributes. Charisma, CHA, Locked Awareness, AWR. Locked Stealth, STH. Locked Spirit, SPR. Locked Accuracy, ACC Locked. XXXX. I certainly grew in power, but I need to end it quickly. Whatever I gained is only temporary. Setting his device in his pocket. He looked around. The car was nowhere to be seen. He still could hear it though. Behind. Turning towards the source of the sound, he saw the car accelerate towards him. Die! Hiroshi yelled at the top of his lungs as he pressed harder on the gas pedal. The entity stood in place. The bright headlights shone at the figure. Another collision. Crash. Hiroshi lifted his head to see the damage done, only to be aghast at the scene in front of him. As smoke rose and thickened from the busted engine, a tall being could be seen hunched over. Hiroshi couldn't believe his eyes. Compared to them, the entity looked relatively unscathed apart from the broken arm that hung limp by his side, and the gaping gunshot wound at his lower ribs. The entity's head now faced the driver. That scene greatly terrified Hiroshi. Ag. That view looked straight out of a horror film. It was so unreal that he had to leave and evacuate. He hurriedly tried to unbuckle his seatbelt. Unfortunately, he wasn't quick enough. Glass shattered once more as a large hand with dangerously sharp claws reached in and pulled him out. The entity's long fingers grabbed a hold of his head. The action resembled that of a toy crane holding a stuffed animal, bringing him closer as they faced each other. A chill ran down Hiroshi's spine, as tears started to form in his eyes. The chilling indifference the creature had on him made his breathing become unstable. The atmosphere got tense as the seconds ticked by. Hiroshi tried to squirm his way out, but the entity just mercilessly squeezed his head like a grape with his overwhelming acquired strength. XXXX. HP. 260/1600, plus 40. Plus 1 con, equals tanking simple damage. Plus 7, STA, equals swiping frenzy, time remaining, 29:59. Alternatives. Eliminate the threat with Toru being alive. 4/5. XXXX. That's 4. Throwing the convict's body aside, He checked inside the car, only to see one dead with shards stuck to his body. However, the one that sat in the passenger seat was nowhere to be found. Where is he? He studied the interior of the car, trying to figure out where he could have gone. The sound of a click drew his attention. Don't. Move, stay back. Breathing heavily, the culprit was holding on to someone, a pistol pointed at them. One of his legs was injured as the inmate tried to stagger his way out. Slowly backing away, Kazuhiro tried to get closer to the convict who held Toru as a hostage. I said stay the fuck back. Shouting made him cough out blood. He was in a weakened state, blood dripping from his head and tiny shards of glass stuck to his arm. However, that wouldn't stop him from pulling the trigger. The entity stopped, unwilling to risk his chances of failing the mission. The strange thing about this was that Toru was unusually calm. That's right, some obedient pet you got, kid. Coughs, the man nudged the kid who was held in his arms. Kazuhiro stood still, watching him back away, only to see something from behind the man. A wooden bat smashed onto his head, breaking upon impact. The last inmate fell face first onto the hard surface with heavy thud. The culprits were two teens, as one of them stood while the other tried to help the kid from underneath the man. Hey kid, what did you say we talk about some rewards for the assist? A sort of exchange. Asahi voiced out, as Toru was now free and out of the man's grasp. The tall figure moved forward, as his actions made the two flinch, unsure of its intentions towards them, getting closer and closer. Crack. XXXX. Alternatives. Eliminate the threat with Toru being alive. 5/5. Complete. XXXX. Chapter 9. A trip down. The silence was shattered by the unmistakable sound of a crack. The sheer force of the stomp made the man's skull get crushed open. Bits of his brain and blood were splattered all over them. That was unnecessary. Asahi cringed at the sight as he tried to wipe off the splattered blood from his face. The girl that was holding onto Toru shielded his vision from the brutal scene. That's all of them. Kazuhiro stared at the now lifeless body for a couple of seconds before overlooking the new faces that aided him during that last moment. Thank you for the help you provided. The entity gently bowed and placed a hand on his chest to show gratitude. If it weren't for them, he would have failed both missions. It's no big deal, we saw you folks needed some help, and we came in for the rescue. Asahi smirked as he placed both hands in his pockets. However, we want to know your secrets, kid. How did you tame such a beast? He directed his attention to the youngster. His sister was also intrigued and waited for the kid to answer. However, Toru did not reply at first but instead stared at the one holding onto him with indifference and a slight tinge of annoyance written over his face. I'm capable of standing on my own. You don't have to carry me. His signature monotone returned, as he was displeased with how she was holding him. It's as if she was carrying a large teddy bear in her arms. Sorry. She sets him down before letting out an odd giggle. That last bit made Toru feel uneasy. Toru took a few steps away from her and stood beside Kazuhiro. I did not tame him, he's his own being. The reason why I'm with him is because I've asked him to assist me on a certain matter. He responded to the teen's query. I see. That's kind of a bummer. Asahi chuckled awkwardly, scratching his head, disappointed at the reply. His initial hopes and expectations seemed dashed at that moment. Sure, recent events had been crazy, but he was silly to think that he had somehow was dragged into a manga setting. Anyways, without wasting either of our time, we should get going. If you don't mind, Kazuhiro-san, Toru suggested. He turned to look at the entity, seeking confirmation if they should continue their march to their destination. I don't mind. Kazuhiro shook his head in response to Toru. He picked up the kid and placed him on his back. Toru held onto him as they were on their way to the school. However, their progress was stopped by a voice behind them. You sure, kid? Asahi quizzed as his eyes raked over Toru and his companion. The kid had heavy eye bags beneath his eyes, and the tall one sported paper-cut-sized scratches, a limp arm and a gunshot wound. You don't look so good, and your buddy over there isn't looking any better. He turned to point in the direction of some buildings. Our apartment building is nearby, you guys can rest there, and we'll patch up the tall dude as best we can. Sounds good, he offered. Asahi is right, you two should rest. Who knows what dangers lie the further you try to reach your destination. It could even be worse than those that tried to kill you earlier. Akemi chimed in, her concern evident as she glanced towards the smoldered vehicle. She worried for their safety, especially for the child. A tense silence ensued. The group awaited Toru's decision, whether he would accept or decline their offer. Before I give you my response, what do you want in return? Surely the service you provide won't be free. Toru finally broke the extended silence. His tone was laced with distrust and genuine confusion. He had every right to be cautious. The world was in chaos, so to be offered a helping hand obviously wouldn't be free. Understanding the kid's wariness, Asahi responded back. Well, we won't ask for much but to tag along. I mean, we are bored out of our minds and got nothing much to do besides toying with the dead around. The fun in that died down pretty quick. Asahi chuckled at the last bit as he expressed his reasons for the offer. That left Toru to ponder for a bit. He'd glance at the entity occasionally and later released a sigh. Sure, I could use some sleep. Moreover, I agree that Kazuhiro-san needs some time to heal his wounds. However, I suspect that he has some regeneration capabilities. I can't be entirely sure. He concluded. Great, let's move. Asahi took the lead, followed by his sister. Then Toru and Kazuhiro tailed a few steps behind the duo. On their way there, the team decided to introduce themselves. By the way, I'm Asahi, Uchinaga Asahi, and this is my twin sister, Uchinaga Akemi. He pointed his thumb at the girl who was walking a couple of steps behind him. Hi! She turned and waved at the two, greeting them with a cheerful melodic tone, a beaming smile gracing her features. Toru, and the one with me goes by the name Kazuhiro. After the introduction, Toru rested his head on the entity's shoulder. Strange name for an alien. Akemi, hand me your bat. Akemi tossed a spare bat over. It was made out of metal this time. She then pulled out a kitchen knife. The strat was for Asahi to stun the dead by whacking them on the head and Akemi going in for the head stab. After having their fun whacking and stabbing the dead, the siblings had soon led everyone back to their apartment block. The door creaked open loudly as they entered the room. Make yourself at home. Just don't mind the mess. Asahi opened the door to their apartment. The new guests were met with a cluttered apartment room with stacks of thin books, scattered clothes, and various misplaced objects. Anyways, Toru, you can rest in any of the 3 bedrooms you'd like. Just head to the right of that hallway. As for you, Kazu-san, will you be all right? Asahi commented about Kazuhiro's absurd height. His back against the ceiling, arms covering the edges of the wall and his long legs crouched almost as if he's crawling with his knees. Don't mind it, Kazuhiro assured. To him, he didn't feel uncomfortable. In fact, with this body, he couldn't feel at all. Right? Anyways, Akemi will take care of your wounds. I'll have to bathe for the 3rd time today. Asahi sighed at the last part while Akemi went to fetch a medical kit. The only ones left standing in the hallway were Toru and Kazuhiro. Kazuhiro-san. Toru decided to break the silence. Once the both of us are fully rested, there is something I would like to discuss with you. It may be related to you. He walked forward a few steps. You must be curious about where or what I have been doing during all that action you had going on. He continued before turning right. The entity heard the door creak open and shut afterward. Puzzled by Toru's recent comments, Kazuhiro decided to pay it no mind and moved himself into what seemed to be a living room. A pop-up showed itself in the top right of his vision. XXXX. You are now resting. Your health bar will regenerate over time. Fractured bone detected. Cannot be recovered instantly. Requires natural recovery. Damaged skin detected. Closing wounds. HP. 210 of 1640. Time remaining to completely heal. 34 minutes and 30 seconds. XXXX. It won't take that long. I might as well check up on the rewards that I have received. Retrieving the device, Kazuhiro scrolled through its contents. Staring at your own reflection? Cool mirror. Akemi stood at the side with a medkit in hand as she peeked at what the tall figure was holding. Its design was strange to her. A mirror? Can she not see what's on screen? Confused, he saw her sit beside him, inspecting the wounds that he had. I'm no pro, but I'll try my best. Opening the kit, she took out a bandage and tried to roll around the long, broken arm of his. Focusing back on the device, Kazuhiro continued to claim the rewards while Akemi attended to his injuries. XXXX. Received. Alternatives. Eliminate the threat with Toru being alive. 5/5. Complete. Rewards. Black small square 20 AP has been applied. Black small square 20 DX has been applied. Black small square 20 STA has been applied. Black small square 20 AGI has been applied. Black small square 20 STR has been applied. Black small square 20 con has been applied. Black small square 15,000 SC added to your virtual wallet. Black small square facility chest has been stored in your inventory. Black small square a new applications. Class application. Black small square a new ability. Wine chant activation skill. A scroll has been stored in your inventory. XXXX. I instantly sense the power course within me once again. It's not the same feeling that I had after slaughtering a significant amount of those undead. Though that was only temporary, I have gained a lot and I felt drained afterwards. Whoa, dude, what was that? Did I apply too much pressure on the injury? Akemi, noticing the quiver, made her stop what she was doing. And by the way, Toru was right about you having Regen abilities. All of your wounds have closed up, though your arm is still the same way as it is. I guess it'll take time. She stood up, seeing that her job was done. She moved to lounge on the sofa and later turned on the TV. Kazuhiro looked over to see the bandaged arm. What he saw was the dressing wrapped in a bow. Was she even trying? Refusing to comment about it, he averts his gaze to the device, now on the homepage. He noticed a new addition, the class application. XXXX. __class ___. A suited class is being picked based on your attributes. Chosen class. Merchant, Tier 1. You received 10 tree points for having a class. Bonus attributes. +4 int. +2 STA. Black small square, description. Both a buyer and a seller. Your goal is to make a profit. Either your customer buys using currency or trades it with something equally valuable. Given class abilities. Black small square text. A little more wouldn't hurt, right? What? Who said it was just about money? Description. You can steal extra from your opponents, be it draining their health or whatever ability that has drainage as its core function. It correlates well with swiping frenzy. Black small square, a seller's greed. All the gold in the world. Description. Receive a minimal buff when you're not in debt. Receive a buff every month based on the market sales or your wallet. Given class item. Black small square, a golden coupon. Now, what do we reward our employee of the month with? More pay? No, but I've got a better idea. How about a discount? Description. Receive a coupon every month, market time, and be able to buy anything with 50% off. The offer cannot stack and can be used only by the user. XXXX. HM? Is this what it meant by class? The role that I got is not bad. I'll further look into it at a later time along with the other 2 that I have obtained from the recent mission. He shuts off the device and inspected the health bar atop his vision. It's almost full. Might as well go out and extract a few things while he's resting. You've got to be kidding me. Why did you tie it like that? Akemi? I bet that would surely help him recover. Asahi walks into the room with a towel on his head and wearing nothing but shorts, revealing his athletic physique. If you care so much, why don't you do it? She retorted sharply, shooting her brother a glare. Asahi tried to say something but was stopped by Kazuhiro, who voiced it before him. No need, I'll head outside. I have a few things that I should attend to. With no further words from the twins, the entity took it as his sign to leave. He soon tried making his way out, leaving the condo. Arlington, Texas. Williams' residence. 8 p.m. A child can be seen slowly descending the stairs as bright flashes occasionally occur outside the sole window, briefly illuminating the dark domicile. The sound of the heavy rain added to the eerie atmosphere indoors. The soft pad of small footsteps whispered through the hallway. The child was dressed in a black suit with a matching tie and shoes. Each step created a soft echo, resonating through the quiet halls. Reaching the end of the stairs, the kid turned his head to the one and only lit room in the house. Hearing subtle noises coming from inside, the sound of a bottle being popped open. He went in and headed towards the cabinet, not acknowledging that there was a person inside, simply ignoring their presence. Opening the kitchen cabinet, he reached in to grab a treat. The action and the sound of the creaky cabinet didn't go unnoticed. I never saw you shed a single tear the whole time we were there. Why is that? The gruff tone halted the kid in his place. He refrained from turning towards the owner of the voice. The man was seated, and was waiting for the kid to answer as he poured himself another shot into the small glass. He gulped it down in one go. The small glass hit the table with a thud. He let his arm drop heavily on the table, exhaling after downing the drink. The man glanced towards the boy. Despite the attention fixed on him, the boy stayed silent, his back still turned to the man, refusing to acknowledge the inquiry. I see how it is. The man chuckled as he rose from his seat and approached the kid. He vigorously grabbed and kept a hold of the boy's hair, turning the boy to meet his gaze. I'll say it one more time. Why didn't you cry? The man's tone grew more ominous as he phrased his question slowly, his presence becoming more intimidating. However, the boy maintained his silence, refusing to respond even under the mounting pressure. The room resonated with the heavy rain outside, its sound engulfing the silence within. A punch to the gut. The kid squealed as he fell on the floor. He curled up and held his stomach. His mouth hung open, struggling to breathe in. Tears formed and ran down his face even though there weren't any wails coming from him. You do have tears after all. The man stood over him as he stared down at the kid, seeing him as he struggled to catch his breath. Are you glad that she's gone, HM? Is that why I didn't see any tears in your eyes? The man's voice reverberated. His words echoed through the room as he relentlessly kicked the child while he remained on the ground. What's next? Are you waiting for me to die too? Huh. He continued the assault, delivering repeated kicks and stomps as the child tried to shield his upper body with his arms. The sound of thunder added to the tense atmosphere. He breathed heavily as he delivered a final stomp, finally bringing an end to the violence. You should be grateful most kids don't receive the things that you have. A name, daily meals, and a roof over your head. Is that not enough? The man stabs a glare onto the child, bruised all over, and a small pool of drool and tears formed on the ceramic floor. No response that angered him further, prompting him to grab the glass bottle and hurl it at the wall, shattering it into multiple pieces. He could only flinch and hope the shards wouldn't cut him. The man exhaled heavily and headed out of the kitchen, clearly not having drawn the wanted reaction out of the boy. He grabbed the coat that hung in the hallway. As he prepared to leave through the front door, he glanced at the boy and commanded, "Pack your stuff. We're moving to a new place about a month from now." Approaching the front door, he added one last remark before departing. "Clean up the mess." And with that, the door swung shut behind him. A few seconds after his departure, he struggled left to prop himself to sit up and lean against the wall. His gaze drifted towards his palm only to spot a crushed chocolate bar in his hand. No longer carrying an appetite, he chose to throw it across the room. His eyes closed on their own accord as he sought solace in the patter of rain outside. It was a fleeting refuge, an attempt to dull the recent turmoil and distress. Toru. Toru. The echo wasn't his imagination. What's going on? He opened his eyes and looked around. Up. Suddenly, a bright flash covered the room, only to see a familiar ceiling. Toru, you okay? You didn't get bit, did you? A look of genuine concern bore on Asahi's face. Bit? What? No. No, I didn't get bit. Just had a bad dream. He mumbled. He tried to sit himself up on the bed frame, rubbing away the remnants of his tiredness. Man, I thought you'd turn into one of them. Asahi relaxed his posture, satisfied with that not being the outcome. How long was I asleep? Toru asked, looking for any clues about the time through the window. Darkness had long settled upon the city. It's slightly past midnight. You slept for a solid 10 whole hours. Asahi replied with a smile, relieved to see Toru getting some rest. Is Kazuhiro-san still around? He got out of the bed and briefly stretched his limbs. Nah, he left a while ago. He said he had something to do, so we didn't bother stopping him. He's still at the park, Akemi, and I went up top for a view just a moment ago. Asahi went to settle on a beanbag and later took out what seemed to be a comic book. A manga. I see. Then I'll be joining him. I'll be fine, you don't have to worry about me. Toru turned to grab his jacket. You sure? I can have Akemi escort you out. Asahi's offer was interrupted by Toru. No, he muttered as he closed the door behind him. With Toru gone, Asahi let out a sigh. He flipped through a few more pages of his manga, hearing another door open and shut. All right, he's gone in 3, 2, 1. Akemi. Asahi called out to his sister. She bursted in, visibly annoyed. What? She yelled back. Toru went out alone. Watch him from a distance, Asahi instructed, before returning to his reading. Ha! He's alone. She slammed the door shut. Plus Toru POV plus. Another one of those dreams that are just memories of the past. When will it end? Toru mused over the memories he longed to forget. He walked in the park only to stop in his tracks. He looked to see Kazuhiro in a squatting position, his back facing the boy. He moved forward and settled beside him, mimicking his posture. He then glanced to see what Kazuhiro was doing. You know, the first time I saw you use that device was through security footage. You did the exact same thing that you're doing right now. I wonder what that does. Drawn by the strange phenomenon that was happening in front of him, the entity aimed the machine's camera lens at the sniper rifle. What seemed to be a swirl of colorful smoke emerged from the object and moved directly onto the device. The device tinged as the store clerk pocketed it and turned to the boy. It allows me to create a copy of said item. That reminds me. Toru, you wanted to discuss something? Kazuhiro answered and listened attentively to what the boy had in mind to talk about. It's not the right time to talk about it. I can hear that creep coming towards us. Toru briefly pondered if he should share about the strange encounter that he had but chose to do it at a later time. Later, once we're done with the task at hand. Besides, someone's already here. He replied. Ha, ha, there you are. Out of breath from running, trying to find the kid she had lost him recently. Did he notice her tailing him? So, when are we leaving? But first, where are we heading? Asahi shows up behind her with 2 school backpacks loaded with necessary supplies. Toru chose to inform Asahi. The sooner we leave, the better. We're headed to Shintoko Academy. Chapter 10. The West Bridge. A forceful kick sent a body plummeting to its demise from the rooftop of a building. It hit the ground with a loud thump, which rendered it motionless. Down they go, said Asahi, the one responsible for that kick. He later made a small jump to another rooftop, meeting his sister, who had gotten there first. You said you knew a shortcut. A high ground path is not what I expected. Toru sounded unamused. He was holding on to Kazuhiro's back as the entity casually walked over the gaps between the buildings due to his long legs. Asahi saw that the next jump would require a bigger leap, which was fine for him. However, he worried that his sister could not make it. It's the fastest way to get to the West Bridge without having obstacles such as roadblocks, gangs, and undead to stop you. Hey Kazu-san, bring over that board. Asahi explained his reasoning for choosing this path. Kazuhiro was holding onto a long wooden board. He placed it down, using it as a walkway bridge. He picked it up again when everyone reached the other side. The repeated act of crossing up top from one building to another generated small talk within the group. Hey Kazu-san, if I may ask, which planet did you originate from? Or did you just somehow mutate into air, whatever you are? Asahi's curiosity bubbled as he pondered the entity's origins. Kazuhiro crossed over. He didn't respond as they kept moving. That made Asahi regret asking in the first place, making him sigh. If I happen to offend you in any way dash, what I know is that I was once a human, and that same human died and was brought up here. I can't fully confirm it as I don't carry any memories of being one, and it was all brought up to me by the system. Kazuhiro's resonating voice reverberated within the group. A system? Questioned Akemi. Yes, its sole existence is to issue tasks, and by doing so, you will get compensated. Dude, that sounds like an ice guy. Tell me more about that market. Asahi paused his march as he couldn't hide his excitement. To think he'd walk along with someone who experienced a literal ice guy, one of his favorite genres. To simplify it, I'm likely sure that it is a nexus point that connects to multiple worlds, as I've seen visitors of different shapes and sizes, and with the help of a few facilities, I was able to confirm that theory. Kazuhiro clarified. They continued their walk after a brief pause. Asahi couldn't mask his subtle sequels and excitement. Is that how you got here? From having someone from our world showing up to that place? Toru speculated. Even though that sounds far-fetched, I've already seen things about you which makes what you said to be somewhat true. He added, to which he was met with a nod. An average teen agreed to let me see your world. Kazuhiro replied. Man, that sounds awesome. Asahi was the one to burst out, followed by his sister, crossing her arms as she nodded. Say, Kazu-san, are you hiring? The prospect of traversing worlds excited him. For him to cross over worlds was a big fantasy of his. Maybe he hadn't gone crazy yet to think that such things existed. I'm not so sure, but perhaps it may work. Kazuhiro pulled out the device to check the app. XXXX. __worker___. No available workers found. Disclaimer. This app is only used to view your worker stats and their performance. You are unable to hire using the device. Hiring requirements. An office is required. The role of a supervisor or hire is required. XXXX. I'm unable to. He stowed it back into his pockets. Oh, so that wasn't a mirror? She asked as she made a short spring, landing on top of another building. No, it's not. I've concluded that only the users are able to view its contents. Kazuhiro explained as he walked over. That makes sense. Akemi nodded at the rationale behind the device. All right, we're here, Asahi announced as the group stood atop a building, overlooking the events happening on the bridge. Bang! The sharp cracks of gunfire echoed as the police desperately fought back a horde of zombies advancing towards the bridge. Amidst the undead, civilians attempted to breach the blockade, only to be mercilessly gunned down, sparking a protest among those sheltered within the bridge, condemning the police's tyranny against civilians and blaming the authorities for the outbreak's consequences. Reporters had gathered to document the chaotic scene, capturing the pandemonium on their cameras. We can't risk crossing that bridge. Confronting the horde would attract the police's attention. Judging by Kazu-san's appearance, they won't hesitate to shoot, Asahi lamented. Realizing the grim reality, the group had to find an alternative route. As if they'll allow us to pass either. Akemi chimed as she surveyed the tragic scene of civilians being killed one after another by the police. Kazuhiro announced his findings, a way to clear a path against the undead. Sound, they're drawn to sound. If we create enough noise, it might clear a path for us. XXXX. +1 INT. Simple observation. +4. Class bonus attribute. XXXX. Then what? What about the police? They won't be so kind as to shake our hands and let us get through, you know? Toru voiced his concerns about the flawed plan. He's right. The safest option we have is to find another route. Akemi agreed and supported Toru's observation. A somber silence enveloped the group as they pondered alternative routes. Kazuhiro took the time to search through the virtual shop using the device. That did not go unnoticed. Is there something you can do, Kazuhiro-san? Toru inquired as he eyed the handheld device. I suspect that something in here can help us get past. The entity responded. Browsing through, 2 items attracted my attention and can be of use in this situation. Kazuhiro thought as his focus was locked on the bright screen. XXXX. __ virtual shop __. Wallet. 16,030 SC. Items added to cart. Sonic boom. Description. A machine that will cause a loud noise, deafening those that are in close proximity. One-time use only. Will last for a minute. Cost 2,000 SC. Barrier block. Description. A small block piece, once crushed, will generate a bubble around the user, shielding anything inside from physical harm. Will only last for a whole minute. One-time use only. Cost 15,000 SC. XXXX. Unaffordable, but is it worth the cost? Kazuhiro mused, contemplating the purchase. The item. The entity recalled having received a peculiar item from the class application. He checked the inventory and confirmed its presence, a golden coupon. Wishing to utilize it, he clicked on the item as it materialized and shined above the device. The display startled those around. Unbelievable! Akemi blurted. Her astonishment was mirrored by the group as well. Kazuhiro's narration to his origins was now being regarded with somewhat of a credibility within the group. This should half the price of one of the items. The entity decided to apply it to the barrier block, an item that held a higher price compared to the other. XXXX. A golden coupon was used on barrier block item. The exchange has been successful. Current cost of barrier block 7,500 SC. XXXX. The item faded upon use. Following this, Kazuhiro proceeded with the purchase. 2 items materialized above the machine. He stowed the block in his pockets and then reached for the noise device, noting its activation button. Dude, you gotta hire me. Asahi immediately got smacked on the head by his sister, annoyed at his behavior. Can't you wait till we finish what we have going on? His sister shot an irritated remark towards her twin. What are those for? Toru questioned the sudden appearances of those 2 items. This device will make a loud noise that will be enough to attract the dead here. As for the other item, it forms a barrier that would block physical attacks, including physical projectiles. However, it will only last a minute and I'm thinking of charging right through to get to the other side. carrying the two of them in a single arm while Toru holds onto my back. Kazuhiro states his plan. Toru weighed the plan, eventually nodding. This will surely draw attention and cause a commotion, but it's the quickest option that we have. Toru expressed his concerns while acknowledging the plan's solidity. The twins were also in agreement with the strategy. With no objections, Kazuhiro activated the machine, initiating a countdown with 10 seconds on the clock. Let's move, we should get as far away as possible, Kazuhiro stated as he grabbed a hold onto the twins, and with Toru on his back, they crossed over a few buildings away from the device. Tokunosu, Minami's residence. 3:30 a.m. The sound of the TV blared as two teens watched the news going on within the bridge. Tension is escalating within the bridge, and protesters show no signs of relenting. The news reporter's voice was abruptly cut off by a loud sound. A deafening shriek echoed, causing many to frantically cover their ears in an attempt to shield themselves from the piercing noise. The undead, scattered in the vicinity, were instantly alerted, converging toward the source like moths drawn to a flame. A minute passed, and the sound gradually faded away. People on the bridge cautiously peeked out, only to discover that the undead had veered off and marched toward the source of the noise. What was that? The news reporter and the sheltered individuals on the bridge were puzzled, unable to comprehend what had just occurred. Two teens heard the sound and watched the news broadcast, as they too were alerted by the sound. One of them happened to be Takashi, Kazuhiro's most recent customer. The two teens sat in stunned silence, absorbing the startling events that had just unfolded. The television blared the reporter's voice, filling the room with tension. What the hell is that? A cop's shout pierced through the screen, drawing the boys' attention. The camera panned swiftly, focusing on where the gun was pointed as it showcased the scenes on the screen. There it displayed a tall creature. It slowly advanced forward. A gunshot rang out, yet a shimmering barrier materialized, deflecting the bullet before disappearing from sight. The camera captured every movement of the entity as it surged forward, the intensity of the moment vividly portrayed on the screen. A cacophony of gunshots echoed as the officers fired upon the advancing creature. Undeterred, it surged forward, using a cop vehicle as a launching pad, propelling itself into the air. AF! Terrified civilians scrambled for cover as the creature breached the barricade. It dropped down and accelerated towards the end of the bridge. The camera, in the hands of its holder seeking refuge, swiveled elsewhere, capturing glimpses of panic and desperation among the people. We have breach in the west area. I repeat, there is a breach in the West District. An officer's urgent voice blared over the communication device, alerting nearby police units to the breach caused by the anomaly. The news broadcast switched off, so as not to increase panic to those sheltered within the lockdown area of the city. The two boys remained fixated on the recent tumultuous events unfolding before them. What was that, Kimaru? The boy with black hair and glasses turned to his friend, seeking answers from Takashi, who was seated next to him. Plus Takashi POV plus. Was that? No, it wouldn't hurt anyone, would it? Did I make a mistake bringing it here? Takashi's anxiety grew as he mulled over the situation. Komuro. A sudden grip on his shoulder jolted Takashi out of his thoughts. Hirano, he questioned, wondering if he had been lost in thought for too long. I tried to call you, but you didn't reply. I saw you sweat bullets, and I happened to think that something might be wrong. Hirano expressed his concerns. Takashi stood silent before finally sighing. It's nothing, Hirano. I just happened to have seen it somewhere. Takashi opted for a truthful lie, not wanting to seem outlandish. I'm not buying it, something feels off. Is there something you aren't telling me? Hirano sounded unconvinced. Even if I did, you wouldn't believe me. Takashi reluctantly admitting he had lied. Try me. No matter how crazy it sounds, dash. I don't believe it. Hirano's blank expression revealed his disbelief, indicating to Takashi that his friend considered the story a mere fantasy. Yeah, I kind of expected that to happen. Takashi sounded unamused at that outcome, having anticipated such disbelief after recounting everything from their visit to the convenience store to their departure from the gas station. The sound of a dog barking relentlessly drew their attention. What in the world? Takashi exclaimed. Both he and Hirano got up to investigate the sudden commotion. Hirano, with binoculars in hand, peered through them. His expression switched at what he witnessed. Shit! What's going on, Hirano? Takashi inquired about the situation. See it for yourself. Hirano passed the binoculars to Takashi before rushing inside to reload a rifle. As Takashi surveyed the scene, he saw a distraught little girl clinging to a deceased man's shoulder, a small pup barking fiercely at the approaching undead. Not good. Takashi grimaced as Hirano joined him, armed with a loaded sniper rifle. Bang! With each gunshot that rang out, one of the dead dropped. Hirano was fixated on saving the poor girl. Get in there, Kumaru. Hurry! I'll try to kill as much as I can. Hirano's empathy for the girl was evident as he urged Takashi to rescue her. Takashi sprinted down to ready the motorcycle's engine. After alerting the group about the incident that they should relocate to another place since the street was filled with undead. Plus POV N+. Tokunosu, the West District. Blewarurgurg, Kazuhiro observed as both twins vomited their takeaways out on the rooftop. Man, Kazu-san, you should have. Belurrgh. Asahi continued to barf out more. The group had taken cover to evade the attention of the police. Regrettably, those accompanying him weren't faring that well. Kazuhiro glanced at the boy laid out on the chilly floor, his eyes spinning in disorientation. Dazed. I'll be all right, Toru weakly voiced, unsure if he'd recover soon. Maybe I should have slowed down. Kazuhiro pondered, reflecting on his actions.